Pam Wilson here, author of Say Yes to the Universe, Create a Life You Love. I come to you today at less than my best, and while my internal critic says, why in the world would you make a video on a day when you are not your best, the reading that I've been doing lately compels me to do exactly that, is to come to you today on a day when I'm not my best. Because that's part of saying yes to me. That's part of saying yes to who I truly am and allowing myself to be who I am on the planet, in the world, among other people, and allowing that compassion to come through that helps me to really shine in who I truly am. I share with you today a book I've been reading, given to me by my daughter. I have heard on the TED Talks, TED.com, TED.com, a woman named Brene Brown, and you may have heard of her as well. So let me share this book with you. It's called The Gifts of Imperfection. The Gifts of Imperfection. And I highly recommend, anybody who's been around me more than 5 seconds knows that if I am around you, you're probably going to get recommended a book that I'm reading. So I highly recommend that you check that out. And the section that's particularly relevant today has to do with self-compassion and perfectionism. And again, if you've been around me more than 5 seconds, you've probably heard me say I am a recovering workaholic perfectionist. Now, the sad part is that I'm learning that perfectionism comes from a place of lack of self-love and lack of self-compassion. So let me share with you what I've been learning about that. So perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. And again, I tell myself that I'm not a perfectionist, and yet when I am less than wonderful, I criticize myself and find, like, why am I not? I mean, this is why I'm doing a video when I'm not my best. Perfectionism is not self-improvement. Self-improvement has a completely different perspective and a completely different come from. So she says the understanding the difference between healthy striving and perfectionism is critical to laying down the shield and picking up your life. Research shows that perfectionism hampers success. Now that was a shocker for me. I did not realize that, because I thought, well, if I'm going to strive to be the absolute best that I can possibly be, clearly that's going to bring me success. But here's what she says. In fact, it's often the path to depression, anxiety, addiction, and life paralysis. Life paralysis. Creating a life you love is not life paralysis. So my goodness, what does that mean? Life paralysis refers to all of the opportunities we miss because we are too afraid to put anything out in the world that could be imperfect. It's also all of the dreams that we don't follow because of our deep fear of failing, making mistakes, and disappointing others. It's terrifying to risk when you're a perfectionist. Your self-worth is always on the line. So being compassionate with ourselves is one of those things that allows us to put whatever we have to say in the world and to give to the world out there, even if it's less than wonderful. I know for myself, it's one of the things that has held me back from even starting to do these videos, is that, well, it's not as polished, it's not a, I don't have the titles on there, and I don't have a producer, and I don't have a music track behind it. But you know what? There's a place to get started. And many, many leaders have said over the years, that really just get started. Just do something. Do something in the direction of your dream, and more likely than not, you're going to, the universe will support you. If you take baby steps towards your dream, the universe will support you, and you'll meet people that you're supposed to meet, and you'll run into circumstances that you're supposed to run into, and you'll find an article on the internet that helps you to know something more. You'll pick up a book that says, oh, I didn't know that this was going to be significant to me. And that brings me to today's reading out of the Art of Spiritual Peacemaking. So the Art of Spiritual Peacemaking, I'm making this on November 17th, and according to my schedule that I set up many years ago, this is day 321 in the year. And so I read today, if you only knew how much I love you, then you would lay aside your cross and follow me. Because I carried mine, you do not need to carry yours. I made all things new so that a new world would be born. And so it was, though you have to see it. And that's what we've been talking about with clarity. But that doesn't mean it isn't there. Think about that today, that you may understand the real function of this world. If you only knew how much I loved you. If you only knew. So here's to you. Here's to your perfection, even though it's an imperfect perfection. Here's to you and I both being compassionate with ourselves and our vulnerabilities and our not knowing and our catching a cold and our making a video when we aren't feeling our best. Here's to you putting who you are out in the world and being the best you can be today.